In Israel, it's pretty common during the day to investigate crimes committed at night by other locals known as wild boars. They cause massive damage to the country's agriculture, trampling hundreds of acres of fields and devouring tons of what local farmers work so hard to grow. The news keeps saying this is an invasion that Israel needs to stop urgently. Millions of dollars leak from the budget every year. And the solution might be quite unusual. You don't even need to turn to other countries for it. It's right here in Israel. Let's figure out what could save the country from a swine apocalypse. A wild problem. The night in most of rural northern Israel is quiet until the first branch snaps. Then out of the darkness comes a boar, massive, like a chunk of moving earth. Another one follows, then another. In a couple of hours, neat garden beds turn into a mess, as if a tractor had rolled through. For farmers in northern Israel, this is nothing unusual, more like a seasonal lottery. The boars come down from the hills and forests looking for water and food, and they find it where people grow their crops. Carrots, corn, strawberries, young grapes, anything that smells great. Anything growing in straight rows is just an open buffet for them. In the morning, a farmer walks out to the field and sees someone has been digging around his crops all night. He can't water anymore. The pipes are torn apart and the soil is slashed up like after shelling. Boars don't just eat, they dig, stomp, turn everything over, leaving chaos behind. Sometimes the damage isn't about how much crop was destroyed, but about that feeling of helplessness. You pour your effort into it, and by morning, it's turned into a wreck. In recent years, the boar population has been growing. Less hunting, more garbage, more food close to humans. Farmers put up fences, use repeller systems, keep the lights on at night, even leave the radio playing. Anything to make the animal think there's a person nearby. Sometimes it works, but more often, it doesn't. Israel doesn't keep exact statistics on losses from boars, but any farmer who's faced them will tell you these nightly visits cost dearly. And it's not just about money. There's something personal about it, as if wild nature is reminding you the land still belongs to it, and we're just guests here. Rescuers with teeth. Once the Indian wolf, Canis lupus polypus, roamed across a huge arc from Israel and Saudi Arabia all the way to India, over thousands of square miles. This was a wolf not of northern forests, but of scorching sun, dust, and wind. It's smaller and leaner than its northern cousins, with short fur and long legs, a real survival machine in the heat. While the gray wolf is used to hunting in the snow, its Indian counterpart learned to endure the sun and get by on very little water. And when the sun goes down, it comes alive to live its wolf life. Wolves lived close to shepherds, followed the herds, and sometimes couldn't resist and took a few sheep. People didn't like that. In the 19th century, during British rule of India, hunting began. Wolves were shot, poisoned, and money was paid for every dead animal. Reports from those years show terrifying numbers. Thousands of wolves were killed every year. That's how a powerful predator turned into a pest. Over time, people plowed the land. The steppes disappeared, and the wolves moved to places where there was still a bit of space left. Today, the Indian wolf survives only in small groups in India, Pakistan, Iran, and the Middle East. Scientists believe this is one of the oldest wolf subspecies, possibly even the closest to those from which the first domestic dogs came. There's genetic evidence that this line split from other wolves tens of thousands of years ago, long before humans started building big cities. Ironically, the very species that might have been at the origin of humans' friendship with dogs now suffers mostly because of humans. In Israel, its story is particularly sad. Even in the mid-20th century, there were almost no wolves left here. They were poisoned along with jackals, seen as mere pests. In the 1950s, they were thought to be extinct. But after the wildlife protection law was passed in 1954, wolves started slowly coming back. By the 1980s, the first packs appeared in Galilee and the Golan Heights, and later in the Negev Desert. Today, there are a few hundred Indian wolves in Israel. They live on the border with Jordan and Syria, feeding on hares, carrion, and sometimes scraps near farms. The Israeli population is one of the few that's holding on, and it's a very important base for saving the country from one of its main problems. Fangs and claws go into battle. As you've probably guessed, a wild boar isn't just a pig that grew some hair. It's an armored vehicle with tusks. You could even say a tank of the animal kingdom. At least because the boar is heavy, fierce, and stubborn. A full-grown male can weigh up to 330 pounds. Its neck is like a tree, its skin is like armor, and its tusks are real knives as long as your hand. And when it's angry, even a wolf might think, nah, not worth it. There have been cases where boars damaged hunting vehicles. They just burst out of the bushes, hit the side, and the machine weighing nearly a ton jumped on the spot. Others told stories of a shot boar charging into a pack of dogs, tossing them around like rags, and then disappearing back into the forest. In Croatia, there was once a case where a wounded wild boar smashed through a wooden shed door and disappeared, alive, completely fine, as if the bullet had only pissed it off. And this isn't a legend. Every hunter around there knows that finishing off a boar is dangerous. It can lie there dead, only to leap up the next second and rush at someone with enough force to send the gun flying from their hands. A boar combines incredible strength with a wild temperament. They can take a gunshot, run dozens of feet with a bullet in their body, and then still attack the shooter. There have been cases where hunters got knocked down, bones broken, muscles torn. And this isn't an attack out of spite. A boar just doesn't know fear. What can an Indian wolf do against a wild boar? It's one of the smallest subspecies of gray wolf. An average adult weighs only about 55 to 70 pounds, and it doesn't have the tools to take on a massive wild boar. Its claws and fangs can't pierce that armor. But wolves in Israel wouldn't need that. A wolf doesn't fight every boar. It works differently. It makes its presence felt. The wolf doesn't have to attack, just leaving its scent is enough. Boars sense it before they even see it, and stop acting like they own the place. They change trails, avoid ravines, try to stay away from spots where howls can be heard. That's how what biologists call a landscape of fear appears, an invisible map where every move of a wild animal is guided by a single thought: a wolf might be here. For Israeli agriculture, this will be a turning point. Wolves will bring back balance. Where there's now confidence and total impunity, caution will set in. Boars will start sleeping deeper in the forest or in other hard-to-reach places, venture near humans less, and leave crops and gardens alone. Even a single pack of wolves can change the face of a large area, disturbing the brazen calm of the boars. And this isn't some fairy tale. The plan is more than real. Scientists in Italy and Spain did their research. They put GPS trackers on boars and wolves and then found that the hoofed tanks actively avoid wolf dens and the places where the pack gathers. But that's not all. Fear of wolves is built into the boar's genetic code. In the Alps, scientists found that boars start getting nervous even when they see a dead wolf. This means that without ever attacking, a wolf, dead or alive, can help protect Israeli farmland. But wolves don't just fight wild boars with fear. For example, in Romania, wild boars make up over 72% of the total weight of the food wolves eat. In Spain, the number even reaches 75%. That means boars are a key part of the predator's diet. And that's despite a boar being several times heavier than a wolf. One wolf might not succeed, but a pack, that's a real chance at winning. And wolves always hunt that way. A single wolf won't approach a big boar. It'll likely run far away, wait for backup, and then they'll all attack together, disorienting the prey. Gradually, bite by bite, the predators still manage to break through even such tough armor. And then they finish the job. The favorite tactic of all gray wolves on our planet is to chase their prey until it gets tired and becomes someone who can't defend itself. And here the Indian wolf becomes the perfect weapon against wild boars. Over the course of its evolution, it's adapted to be incredibly enduring. Little muscle, small weight. In short, these Indian saviors can successfully hunt even the biggest pests of Israel. Wolves can also use a completely different tactic. They simply pick a weak or young boar, the one lagging behind the herd. One wolf distracts, another comes in from the side. They don't waste energy because they know, miss once, go hungry. In India, they've observed wolves attacking young wild boars and small antelopes, moving lightning fast, almost silently. A bite to the neck, a brief struggle, and it's over. The same scenario could happen in Israel, especially on northern slopes and in the transition zones between farms and forests. Now imagine a family of such predators settling near farmland and protecting it from wild boars just by being there. And if push comes to shove, taking out anyone who dares to wander in and cause harm. Sounds effective. And sometimes efficiency can reach new heights. In Israel's Negev desert, right in a lemon grove, they found a wolf den with a female, a male, and 7 pups. How do you like that security agency that doesn't even need to respond to calls? One big but. Saving Israel's rural areas from the wild boar threat with wolves sounds great, but it definitely won't rid the country of these pests entirely. The thing is, it's hard to even call the boars rural residents anymore. They're city animals now. They're cheeky neighbors who stroll along streets, rummage through trash, and lounge on playgrounds. For city folks, boars have become part of everyday life. They cross roads, dig around near supermarkets, and even peek into private yards. They used to stay away from people, but now they actively seek company. There are scraps in the trash bins, roots sticking out of lawns, and fragrant leftovers near cafes. Why go into the forest when everything you need is right here? That's why the number of boars in Israeli cities keeps growing despite hunting and traps. Haifa, one of Israel's biggest cities, is a prime example. There, wild boars are spotted more often than stray cats. Between 2019 and 2024, residents filed about 24,000 reports about wild boars. Indian wolves, like any other wolves, are animals built to live away from people, and the Indian subspecies even more so. It's suffered too much from us. Imagine it, somewhere between a parking lot and a shopping mall. Sitting there, stalking a boar, rummaging through yet another trash can. Wolves just won't survive in cities. They're scared of noise, people, lights, cars. Their instinct says, stay away from civilization. And even if wolves someday start putting more pressure on wild boar populations in rural areas, nothing will change in the cities. Wolves just won't go there. On the contrary, with predators around, boars might move deeper into cities, where they're even safer. It becomes a vicious cycle. The more wolves there are in the wild, the bolder the city boars get, plus new pests arrive, fleeing from predators into human spaces. So wolves can help nature restore balance in ecosystems and reduce boar numbers on the outskirts. But they won't save all of Israel. The problem isn't the lack of predators. The problem is that humans made paradise for the boars with trash bins, gardens, and no fear. And as long as this paradise exists, no wolves will fix it. On top of that, they'll definitely scare a certain group of people. A cattle farmer's horror. Livestock in Israel isn't just cows and sheep out in the desert. It's an important part of the economy and everyday life. Dairy farms provide the country with cheese, yogurt, milk, meat, everything you find in every store. In 2024, animal farming brought Israel almost 16.5 billion shekels. This isn't a hobby, it's a serious industry that thousands of families depend on. And if the number of wolves in the country grows beyond what it is now, these farmers will be the first to feel it. Right now, there aren't many wolves. They stick to the wild areas, but if their numbers rise, they'll have to look for food closer to people. Israel's a small country and there isn't much wild land here. At some point, the wolves will just end up near farms where cows, sheep, and goats are grazing, and that's where the trouble will start. A wolf, like many other predators, doesn't go looking for problems out of nowhere. I mean, imagine you're a wolf. There's a 330-pound boar with big tusks in front of you, and right beside it, a cute sheep that doesn't require any effort. The choice is clear, not only for us, but for the wolves as well. Farmers in the north have already had to deal with wolves attacking their livestock. Usually, lambs and calves fall victim. They're helpless, easy targets. Losing even a few animals is a noticeable loss. Israel's dairy industry is high-tech but small, only around 115,000 dairy cows across the entire country. Every one of them matters. If wolves start taking calves, the farmer loses not just animals, but milk, meat, income, and the time invested in raising them. And if wolf attacks become widespread, they'll need to build new fences, install electric enclosures, hire security. That's tens of thousands of shekels in extra expenses, and there's no guarantee it'll work. Wolves are clever, and even in countries where their population is increased, they often find ways to get around the defenses. In Israel, where farms often sit between desert and hilly terrain, it's even harder to protect livestock from night predators. So livestock farmers definitely won't be happy. And that's not just a guess. There's a recent case where wolves caused real problems. Reintroduction with a twist. In Colorado, almost all the wolves that used to live there went extinct because of humans, and the ecosystem suffered. There were too many deer and elk, not enough balance. Young trees couldn't grow fast enough. The soil got trampled and the grass disappeared. Wolves had been nearly wiped out, and without them, nature became like a machine with no brakes. In 2020, the state's residents voted, wolves need to come back. In December 2023, the first 10 gray wolves were released in the western part of the state, followed by a few more groups. They were brought from Canada, transported in crates, and then simply let out, letting the wolves leave on their own. The plan was to release about 50 in total so the population could take hold. Since then, wolves really have appeared. Tracks in the snow, howling at night, first reports from locals about sightings. In the spring of 2024, farmers in Grand, Jackson, and Routt started finding dead calves. The tracks, the bite marks, everything pointed to wolves. The news called them isolated incidents, but for the farmers, it was the start of the end of peace. One man told reporters, "I heard them howling at night, and in the morning I already knew one of mine didn't make it." They don't just kill, said one farmer. They change the herd's behavior. Cows stop grazing, stick together, lose weight. Some just wander off and don't come back. Wolves don't attack often, but fear does the rest. Even where predators hadn't been seen for weeks, the animals became restless. Pastures empty, hayfields stand idle. People turn on floodlights, set off sirens, patrol at night. In 2024 and 2025 alone, farmers claimed about $650,000 for dead and missing animals. The biggest case, Conway Farrell's ranch in Grand County, he said he lost 89 calves. And the compensation he was offered didn't even cover half the damage. The papers mentioned something like losses likely but not confirmed. In reality, there were dozens of empty fields where animals should have been grazing in spring. The state says it's doing everything it can. Compensations, deterrent programs, night patrols. People are driving across pastures, turning on spotlights, putting up warning flags, but all of this is expensive, time-consuming, and not always effective. Wolves learn fast. One farmer told how the wolves watched from afar while he set up light traps. A week later, they avoided them and came back from the other side. Then the legal battles began. Livestock associations demanded to pause the reintroduction program until there was a proper system for compensation and protection. They said, while scientists make plans, we're losing our livelihood. The court refused. The law is on the wolf side now. The authorities protect them, and killing them can lead to criminal charges. According to reports, the state paid almost $400,000 in a year, $44,000 for confirmed attacks, and more than $300,000 for indirect losses. Livestock weight loss, stress, missing animals. But farmers say the real danger is higher. It's just hard to prove. And here's the thing, that's just 30 to 35 wolves, 2 stable packs in the Northwest, and a few lone wolves roaming the ridges. So many disputes over 3 dozen predators? For ecologists, it's still a win. For ranchers, a new headache. So Colorado's split in 2. Some hear the night howl and say it's the voice of nature. Others, the sound of loss. Who's right? Everyone in their own way, but right now it doesn't matter. The important thing is there's a high chance the same thing will happen in Israel. In short, nothing good. A different fight. For now, having Indian wolves all over Israel is just a fantasy, so fighting wild boars has to be done with whatever means are at hand. And the inventive Israelis have something to show here. City officials started by recognizing sources of food, trash, open bins, leftovers, and green spaces are an invitation. They changed garbage rules. Bins are emptied late in the evening so food doesn't smell at night. Bins are also secured to keep boars from tipping them over. Parks and gardens were cleaned in the evening so nothing attracts boars overnight. In neighborhoods where the pests show up more often, the nighttime cleaning schedule has been stepped up. At the same time, fences were erected along the borders of forests and streets. The fences are strong, about 4 feet tall, made of mesh or metal bars. Where boars already regularly get through, gates and doors are installed that have to be closed at night. Wherever fences are broken or gates left open, repairs are done immediately. There are also unique solutions. For example, in Haifa, where wild boars are just part of the neighborhood, they use deterrent systems based on the animals' eating habits. They scatter bait pellets around someone's garden. They're so tasty for the boars that they smell them from afar and rush to eat. But then they're disappointed. The substance in the bait is harmless, but tastes unpleasant. Then the boar thinks, the food here isn't good, so I won't come back here, and it goes off to ruin someone else's garden. When the boars are already used to it, meaning they've lost their fear of people, nighttime streets, and moving cars, tougher measures are applied. Lone rebel boars, aggressive ones, or those scaring people, are captured and culled under official permission. In many cases, the animals are fitted with GPS collars. Cameras are set up to see exactly where they go, when they leave, and how they react to fences and measures to remove food sources. There are research projects modeling wild boar movements, studying which routes they prefer at night, how the location of green zones affects them, and how they react to barriers and a lack of food. One of these projects is called Pigs in Space. Its models show that if you change where the food sources are, boars will enter the area less often. This project, launched together with the Nature and Parks Authority in 2021, combines all these measures: sanitation, trash cleanup, fences, capturing the fearless individuals, and public awareness campaigns. After just a couple of seasons, it became clear. Hotline reports are down, there are fewer overturned bins. People don't see boars as often in residential areas, especially in neighborhoods where fences are already up and trash is cleaned regularly. But there are lots of obstacles: budget limits, legal issues, and resistance from some people. Yes, some think boars are part of nature, and culling is an extreme, not entirely necessary measure. There are also problems with barriers being broken, gates left open, and people continuing to feed stray animals thinking they're helping. These people basically give boars a free pass into the city. With all the measures, sanitation, fencing, capture, monitoring, and raising public awareness work together, you can see a real effect. Cities feel the wild guests show up less. Nighttime rustlings don't disappear completely, but they no longer automatically mean a boar will tip over a bin or come to your doorstep. The new goal isn't to beat nature, because that's almost impossible, but to make it so people and the forest can meet without getting in each other's way.